for applying for CCAP. We're really excited about this program. It's a new program. Have any of you been a small group leader before for orientation? Not in this group? Okay, we had a few yesterday. So the idea is that you are going to be there to support the new students coming in for the fall. And so today we're going to tell you a little bit more about the program, how it's going to work, and go over also some just cross-cultural activities and training with you as well to help you prepare as you're communicating with these new students coming in. So my name is Stacy Telligman. You're going to introduce yourself?
I'm Mary Claire Lukevich, and I'm an intern in the office this summer.
And I'm Thomas Green, also with Office of International Services. So, as Stacy said, thank you for volunteering for the Culture Ambassador program. This is really a brand new program, and it's an extension of the small group leader model that our Office of International Services has had for many years. And really what it is to help the many international students who are not just new to campus each semester, but who are new to the United States each semester. And so if you think back to being a freshman, which for some of you was not that long ago today, and all of sort of the concerns that you had about coming to campus, coming to a large campus. And if you're a first generation college student, you may have lacked even some input from your parents giving you information about what you might expect. Now imagine if you were potentially a first generation university student and doing that university study in another country as an 18-year-old. So really in the end, what the purpose of CCAP is, and each of us and all of you and the people who were at the training yesterday to do, is to really offer a more personalized orientation experience for the students. To really help them in a different way to learn how the culture works in the United States, and to learn in a pretty quick time frame all the things that they'll need to know in order to be successful as not just new students on campus, but also new residents, right, as visitors for a considerable length of time here in the United States. So really what we want to do is provide them with really fundamental support while they're here. And definitely the best way to do that, and I think you've probably experienced this as well, is you get hopefully most of your support from the community that's around you. Your faculty members support you, your advisors support you, but I think probably the students who are the most successful are the ones who are connected with their peers and who are trying to kind of go through this process together. That's really who your support system is. And for international students, what we want to do is do everything that we can to help them really feel connected with their peer network. And that's exactly where you come in, to kind of be, in a lot of ways, the first people that they really get to know before they arrive, and then a person whom they already know when they get off the plane and arrive on campus, and they get to meet you face to face, okay? So part of your job here is to serve as a key contact, a direct contact, for a small group of incoming international freshmen. And by small group, we'll kind of explain how that will be structured, but really numerically for each of you, I think it should be no more than 10 for each individual, or for each pair? For each pair. So you'll be paired with another CCAP volunteer, and each of you will be responsible for a group of about 8 or 10 students, so not huge, okay? And so the ultimate goal is to connect these new students with you. And you're already really much better connected with the rest of the university than they are, and probably even better than you understand yourselves. But the idea is to kind of help bring them to campus and give them a friend, a peer, and a mentor to help them adjust. So how will it benefit you? Of course, this is not a one-sided relationship, and generally when there is a one-sided relationship, it's a healthy option to get out of that relationship. It's really one-sided. Okay, so for you, the benefit is to really enhance some of your own skills. Your communication skills, learning how to communicate cross-culturally. It's not something that you're expected or really are even capable of knowing without first-hand experience at doing it and some training at doing it. And in fact, a lot of the way you've been brought up and taught is to not communicate cross-culturally. Part of culture is to teach you a standardized way of understanding the world, not a diverse way of understanding the world. And communicating cross-culturally is exactly that, developing a more diverse comprehension of maybe not the way you see the world, but the way other people might see the world, and then being able to communicate across those differences. So for you, that's a skill that you'll get to learn. Leadership. This, of course, does look good on a resume. It does look good for you as far as your own networking, as far as your own place in your college. You know, several of you mentioned, you know, College of Engineering and CHAS and College of Management. These are already colleges that thrive on and embrace internationalization, and they need more students that kind of recognize the value of that, regardless of your field. Engineers need to be able to communicate cross-culturally, just like people in business administration, people in anthropology and communications. So that's where you end up developing these skills to bring back to your colleges. Of course, you will make new friends and connections on campus and in the community. Our office and the volunteers end up having a lot of exposure and a lot of networking with campus partners. So you'll meet new people, and also off campus within the community. People that I think you'll appreciate knowing and they'll appreciate understanding your contributions. Okay, so here's how it works. It's already been mentioned that each ambassador will be paired with another ambassador. It's a mixed group. Most of the ambassadors are Americans. Several, I would say maybe a third of the ambassadors, are international, or they have dual citizenship. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make the partners as diverse as possible. So whenever possible, we would like to match somebody who is international with somebody who's domestic. We would also, I think, like to match male with female as much as possible, just because you're going to have mixed groups, and people from different countries are going to be able to identify differently with a mentor. Some people from different countries, a male, might be reluctant or shy about getting advice or talking to a female mentor, again, just because of their cultural background. Of course, the opposite is always true as well. What we are going to try to do, however, is if you're an engineering student, we are going to try to match you with another engineering student, and we are going to try to make the groups as closely connected within the colleges as possible. Engineering and PCOM, so College of Management, those should be pretty easy because they have a lot of international students. So the incoming group, it's easy that we're going to have a good number of groups that are all engineering students and all management students. For CHAS, so Humanities and Social Sciences, it might be a mixed group, because there are a decent number of international students coming in, but not as many as in engineering and management, okay? So probably what you'll do is you'll be matched with somebody as a partner, as an ambassador from your program, and as much as possible, the students in your groups are going to be in your colleges as well. So your relationship will begin before, and then officially with this program go into September, but hopefully your relationship with your students and with your friends, by that point, will go, you know, of course, beyond and into the academic year. We have already, Mary Claire, created email addresses for each ambassador group. So you will not be dependent on your own personal email. However, you will be expected to utilize the CCAP email for your group and to check it and to coordinate with your partner with how and when you'll want to check that. But the idea here is that incoming students are going to have that email, and hopefully, as they have questions, they'll send emails to it and say, I have a question about this, or so you'll want to coordinate with your partner with checking it. That doesn't mean you have to check it every day, but it certainly will mean that if you're on vacation for a week, that you'll want to let your partner know and say, I'm taking a hiatus from email. I have no more screen time, right? I'm sure everybody says that. It's just taking communication, just like any group project you may have done, just like any relationship. You're going to have to forge a relationship first with your partner, with the other ambassador, and then come to some agreement, get to know him or her a little bit, learn a little bit about communication styles, and then come up with a plan for how you would want to manage your group. And each group will look a little bit different, but it's something that you'll practice the communication first and foremost with your own ambassador partner. And then the other thing is the group assignments and your partners will be going out within the next several days. And we'll give you some time frame by which we would like you to reach out to your group of incoming students. We're actually still figuring out who the incoming students are. The admissions process is still underway. I think it really closed out just this past week. So within a couple of weeks, we should have a pretty definite list of the students that we can expect to be coming. And you'll hear from us within the next week or so with a time frame and more details. And for the first couple of weeks, we're going to be asking you to email to your small group, to your group. I'm not going to call it a small group because that's going to confuse everything. But we're actually going to be asking you, and we ourselves are going to be using Moodle quite a bit. And has everybody used Moodle? Can I just get a show of hands? Everybody's used Moodle. I'm assuming everybody's used Moodle. Now, had you used Moodle before you were a student at NC State? No. And you had? Okay. Well, I can assure you most of our incoming students have not used it. And in fact, the idea of using it seems extremely strange. The idea that there's going to be class content, you know, in sort of this social media kind of platform. And, you know, students are coming from all over the world. So what we want to do for our own benefit is, for one, a lot of the content for the incoming students. So things related to academics, all the things that you had to adjust to and understand when you were coming to campus, plus a lot of tacit information. For example, where to shop. You all kind of know where to shop, but if you come to another country, you don't really know where to shop to get the kind of food that you like. How to use the bus system. How do you get around? So we kind of go through topic by topic, and it gives you some platform to where you might, for a student coming to the country for the first time, it's going to be all new to them. But your own experiences, your own expertise is where you get to kind of answer questions and guide them through it and explain it to them. So for the first couple of weeks, by email, we're going to ask you to direct students as quickly as possible to get into Moodle and start using it, using their Unity ID. And then after that, we're going to also help you to set up forums. So for you to have like a virtual kind of chat room through Moodle. And we're going to start that process first over the next couple of weeks by creating an initial forum where we're going to add all of the CCAP volunteers in there, and you'll get a little practice using it, using the functions of Moodle before you actually have to start kind of managing it for your group, okay? So don't worry about it. You'll get plenty of practice, I think, and we'll give you tutorials and information on how not just to be a student, but you're actually going to be given designated roles as teaching assistants within Moodle. Okay.
So we're talking about what the requirements are and how you're communicating with your students. One thing I want to ask you all, what were some of the challenges or things that you were most nervous about when you first came to NC State? Can you think back that far?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, yours was last year. Come on, you got this. What was something you were nervous about?
Well, personally, the whole moving out thing was not stressful, moving out of my house and everything, but meeting new people was definitely the most stressful portion of that. It wasn't actually that hard, it's just initially you're like, oh my goodness, what if no one likes me?
Yeah, you're scared, you don't know where to start maybe.
Yeah.
I was scared I wouldn't have enough things that I needed. Like when I moved into my dorm, I was like, what if I'm starving and no one will eat with me? What if I don't have the right outfit? Or what if my sheets are not the right type of sheets?
Not the right size, yeah.
You know, what if I have too many things and it doesn't fit? Where am I going to put it? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So think about having to pack for 4 years into two suitcases.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. So these are the types of things that these new students need to know. So these are the types of questions that you all will be answering for them. That's the idea, so that they have some of these answers and they can maybe ease some of their nerves before they ever get here. So you guys are going to be a support system to help them figure some of this stuff out, both before they get here and then after they get here. So you're going to be communicating via email, also in Moodle. So post this type of information. I also want to encourage you, if you get a question via email from a student, because maybe some students won't be comfortable posting on a Moodle forum where everybody in the group can see it. Maybe they're scared it's a dumb question, or if they send you a question via email and if you feel like it's something that the whole group would benefit from knowing, go ahead and post it anonymously on Moodle. Say, we got asked this question. Don't say who asked it, but say, we got asked this question. It's a really great question. Maybe some of you are wondering the same thing. So keep those conversations going via Moodle. So talk a little bit about the timeline. So right now we're doing your training. You'll start corresponding with your group members, hopefully, within the next couple of weeks. We'll set up, like Thomas was saying, a practice space in Moodle where you all are communicating with each other first to get that started. And then we'll send you the members of your group. Right now, admissions is still admitting some people, and they admit transfer students for quite a while still. So we'll assign you your groups, but keep in mind you might have some people added to your group or taken out if people decide not to come. So they will change a little bit, but for the most part, it'll be those people that we send to you. I'll also send you the password to your email accounts to both partners, and you'll both be able to log into that same email account and check it. And so for May, we want to encourage you to introduce yourselves to your students, and we have some samples emails that we can send out to help you if you need some ideas of things to tell them to talk about. And then direct them towards that Moodle space. So we have a lot of information and resources on there, so start directing them towards that. After May, so May through July, we ask that you keep regular contact with your group members and with your partners. So make sure you're checking those emails, those Moodle discussions on a regular basis, answering any questions as soon as possible. I'm not saying that you have to be glued to your email 24/7 during the summertime, but check it on a regular basis so that they feel like they have the support and they're getting their questions answered. Like I said, you're going to get a lot of questions about these types of things. We're also going to probably send you some information and ask you to share it with your members. They're probably going to respond better to you all than they do in office that they've never seen or don't know anybody from, right? So we might ask you to share some specific information with them. One thing I do ask is that you don't try to answer any immigration questions. So you will maybe get questions about visa status or I-20s or things like that. Just send them to us. So please don't try to, even if you are an international student or you have friends that are, and you know some of the information, we want them to come to us so we can provide them with the latest, okay, in the immigration stuff. So don't try to answer anything immigration, send it on to us. So May through July, you're maintaining your contact, you're being that support for them before they even get here. And then in August, so August 12th is the move-in date. It's been arranged as a special move-in date for new international students who are living on campus. So the residence halls will open for them on that day. Not for any returning students, but just for the new students because their orientation starts on the 13th. If any of you all are living on campus, you will also be able to move into your dorms on that day, because we want you to be able to be here if you can on that day to help them with the move-in process and support them. That night we'll also do a social event And part of the reason we're doing this is because when students are moving into dorms, they're going to be spread out throughout campus possibly, and we don't want there to be a student who is the only one living in that residence hall that first night, you know, other than the RA, and be secluded on their own. So we're going to have some sort of event the night of August the 12th to bring everybody together, start meeting people, meet the ambassadors, other group members, and that sort of thing. So we really hope that you can be there on the 12th. August 13th is going to be the absolutely required date. We need you. So that's the date our orientation starts. This year, the new international students will have a 3-day orientation. The first day will be with our office and with you all. We'll have some group time, probably some campus tour time, some presentations from our office, so a lot of different things that first day. The second day, we have information fair and some mini sessions, which are kind of like a miniature conference for students. They can pick and choose what sessions they want to go to. And then the afternoon of the 14th, they will start attending the new student orientation. So just like all the American students go through during the summer with the Office of New Student Orientation, they'll start that. And then they'll complete that on Friday the 15th. So they'll do that all day. So you don't have any responsibilities on the 15th. They'll be at their new student orientation, unless you're also an orientation leader for them. Somebody here was yesterday. But really, 13th is going to be the most essential day we need you, and then we'll probably ask for some help on the 14th if anybody's available. But for moving in, you will be able to move in on the 12th. In a little bit, we're going to show a video about culture shock, and because of the timing of how culture shock usually occurs, you know, it can last the first semester. And so we're asking that you stick with your students, keep communication with them at least through September. That's really the essential time. Make sure they have that support, they get connected to campus. Also, at the end of August, what did Lauren say the date was?
I think the 22nd.
August 22nd, maybe. You'll get more information about it to be sure. But we have a welcome party for all the new students, and you all will be invited to that, of course, as well. It's usually a lot of fun. So, welcome party, and then continuing communication, helping answer questions, referring to resources through September. And these two are two really important points also. Two more things that are required of you. And, you know, a little bit obvious, but I want to make sure and point them out. Make sure you're respecting all cultures, religions, values, beliefs, whatever it is. You're going to have students coming from all over the world in your groups, and they're going to come from a lot of different value sets, groups, cultures. So be respectful, you know, be appreciative of the differences, and please do respect everyone. We ask that you try not to discuss religion or politics. They can be touchy subjects, so especially right off the bat. And if a student starts asking you about things, then, you know, by all means, have that conversation, but don't bring it up and say, hey, what are the politics like in your country, you know, right away. So, and then the second one, please don't promote or try to sell anything. You know, if you belong to like a Christian organization on campus, and that's fine that you're telling students what you're involved in and what your personal interests are, but don't try to promote those because there's a lot of different, like I said, beliefs and values out there. So be respectful, and if you are looking to promote something that you're involved in and you want more involvement, just ask us first. Okay? So don't promote anything without permission from our office, because we want everybody to feel comfortable as they're arriving.
All right, so we're gonna just show a couple of images, and I want you to go ahead and take a look at that real fast. You're taking a look at it based on what we might expect. You know, I mean, even in the bottom right hand it says Islamic tours. You know, perhaps we're thinking that this is a Muslim at prayer time praying. The truth of it is we really don't know what he's doing, but we can make an assumption. Now, sometimes that assumption is right, based on what we expect to see. Sometimes it's exactly right, but sometimes it's wrong as well. So I'm not going to say what this gentleman is doing. I don't know. Maybe he dropped something. Maybe he's looking down a hole in the ground. Maybe he's tired, it's hot, he's taking a rest. Or maybe he is praying. Truth is we can't always tell, but we are assigning a certain value to what we see, an interpretation to what we see. How about here? So what anybody want to say what they see? They think they see? A couple holding hands, right? And that could be it. You go as far as that, it's a couple holding hands. Based on their builds and their style, it looks like two males holding hands, right? And based on maybe what we're accustomed to seeing or what we, you know, is not uncommon to see in this country and in this society, it's two males holding hands, and they might be two gay men holding hands. And we might be right, we might not be right, but we are also assigning something that we've seen before and assigning a value to what we see. Somebody else from a different culture, for example, who's seen two ladies holding hands or two men holding hands, they may assume that they're a gay couple, or they might just assume that they're friends. Because depending on your culture, it is common for males in some societies, especially when they're discussing actually a sensitive topic, for them to hold hands. It helps to keep the peace. It doesn't mean that they're homosexual. It just means that that's the cultural standard for a certain dialogue and a way of interacting. It's hard to tell. You end up making a lot of assumptions and having to make guesses about a lot of the things that you see, and you have to interpret. And then when you actually are introduced to something new for the first time, you know, you might assign some expectations, like I said, but those are subjective. They're yours, they might be right, but objectively speaking, it might not always be as easy to really know what's going on in a situation. And that mindset is something that's really helpful, especially when you're working with these new students that are coming in. So much of how we understand the way things operate, the way we interpret the world, and the way our students have come to understand the world, when they're here, they're going to have to learn a whole new way of understanding things and seeing things, and it really does take time.
So we have all these different things that make up culture, right? Your clothing, how you relate to your family, what is a family, you know, friends, all these different things that make up our culture and the way that we see the world. So there's hundreds and hundreds of different definitions of culture. All these research studies have been done, and people define culture in a lot of different ways. So here's sort of a standard definition. Culture can be defined as shared learned symbolic system of values, beliefs, and attitudes that shapes and influences perception and behavior. I like to think of it as a lens, right? We all have a lens for the way that we see the world. So just like the photos that Thomas was talking about, this lens is going to influence how we see things, our perceptions of things. So keep that in mind as you're communicating with these new students. Just because you see something a certain way doesn't mean they're going to, right? So there's 100 different ways to look at the exact same image or the exact same situation. So always remember that. So what we're going to do next.
It's 100.
This is a video about culture shock. And this is a video that was put together by the Columbia Business School. The guy presenting it is an international student at Columbia. And he is talking about culture shock, and he is talking about his own personal experience with culture shock. But he does it in a very entertaining and a very real way. Our office is here to support you all as much as possible. So we're so excited that you are joining CCAP. Thank you for signing up. We're so excited. Does anybody have any questions?